Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and we're back with another guide video for today. In terms of Honkai Star Rail, we're going to be talking about the Relic crafting feature, which is part of the synthesis section that you can find on your phone menu as well. This is automatically unlocked in Trailblaze level 40, so any of you who are wondering in terms of should you use it, maybe what should you pick as well, and is it even good at all? We're going to be answering all of these questions in this video as well. Now, the main benefit of this synthesis machine in terms of this relic crafting is you actually get to complete your sets or look out for like better pieces. For example, maybe you are missing a speed boot for Zealer or attack boot for Zealer. You could of course come here and directly just click this boot and you can synthesize and create a copy of it as well. I'm going to be showing you what it looks like, but first let's talk about in terms of like the pros and cons of using this machine before we actually talk about a bit more. So in order to actually get this one of these copies of creating whatever you want, for example if you want head, body, hands and feet, let's just say for example we're just talking a simple one, we're just going to look at boots here, the Genius Gravity Walker. In order to get these boots, we actually need to exchange for Relic Remains. We need 100 Relic Remains, and let me just go into the inventory real quick. So how do we get the Relic Remains? So for those of you who don't know, maybe you haven't utilized this section, you can actually click this salvage section here and you'll go into all your unused relic gear as well. For example, once we select for in this 5-star relic for example, you can see on the bottom right here it has this salvage for 10 relic remains. If for example we just click purple and blue, you can see that it's 2 EXP materials for purple and 1 for in terms of a blue a glove as well, in terms of a blue tier gear. So this is an example of like the scaling, and in order for us to actually get the full roll, we actually need a total of like 10 of these relic remains in order to actually form them. But because I already have on my account, I already have 10, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do another 90. Now, do I recommend it? In actual fact, I actually don't. I'll explain why in a little bit early on, but I'm just going to sacrifice my account and some of my progression for the sake of some information for us as well. I think it's very useful in order to educate us. And if you do appreciate my sacrifice, do like and subscribe for more of such future content as well. Okay, so we got the 90 relic remains. Now let's go back into the menu and see how it has changed as well. Towards the end of the video, I'm actually going to be talking about should you actually be doing this right now and my thoughts as well. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to make it educational. I'm going to be now talking about which one is actually worth it to get, especially in terms of like the thought process I am thinking about when I'm selecting this as well. So there are two main sections here in terms of the Cavern Relic. This is like the 4-piece sets and the Planet Ornament, which are like the 2-piece sets. So let's first talk in terms of like the Cavern Relics if you're looking at any one of them. And out of all of, for example, any set here, there are 4-piece sets. So if we don't even distinguish like the sets on its own, based on these 4, I would highly recommend, if you are using this at all, to select the body and feet. And the reason for that is because the body actually gives you much more variability in terms of the main stat, and you are looking for like crit rate, crit damage, and the feet you are for example looking like attack percentage, speed and stuff like that. These are much harder to get, so you want more chances to be able to obtain these kind of gear. You don't want to get the hands as well as heads because the main stat is flat. For example, flat HP as well as flat attack. This means that by naturally going through the process in terms of probability of running through the domains, your likelihood of getting a glove that is much better in terms of substats and a hat that is much better in terms of substats is far higher than getting the right main stat combined with the right substats for body and feet. And that is why you want to focus on these two in general. My take, if you are looking to use this early on in terms of this machine, that's where the second part comes in, is which set do you want. I think if you are early game and you are not aiming to like min-max a particular character, you should go with very generalistic sets. What are they? I would say that for example, Musketeer of Wildwheat, which we got for free, is a pretty versatile one. It gives a lot of characters can use the attack stat and this as well as the speed stat that is provided. For example, if you're not interested in this, you could also go with Thief of Shooting Meteor. It increases break damage by 16% as well, and a slight more increase in break, and you guys are familiar with this set already. Very versatile, can be used on any other single character. I think one other set that is not really talked about quite a bit on other channels, but I really like it, especially I've been pitching this one very often, is the Guard of Wuthering Snow. This relic, although it's a very defensive relic in nature, it doesn't contribute to DPS, but if you think about it, stages that don't really require you to complete it within a number of turns but just survive, you're able to clear harder content if you're able to soak up more damage in terms of this damage reduction, as well as like restore some HP when you're less than 50%, as well as regenerating energy as well. Very good in like simulated universe to be able to clear content that by right you're not supposed to because you're under level, as we have shown in like our simulated universe free to play guides already. So I think this is pretty underrated, can be used by almost any single character in the game. As long as you take damage and you need energy and you want to heal up your HP, this is a universal set. So in my opinion, you want to look for like universal sets that anyone can use. Even sets, for example, like Passerby Wondercloud as well as Knight of Purity Palace is slightly more niche because the number of characters that can actually utilize healing as well as defense is a much smaller proportion compared to those that utilize attack. And of course, like sets like the elemental sets, like this ice one, the fire damage one, imaginary one, and so on and so forth, are a little bit more niche, unless of course you're going for like a 4-piece set. For example, maybe the Eagle of Twilight Lane with this action advance and ultimate. That's a little bit more niche, but early on, I don't think we want to focus on that. We want to have the highest efficiency because we are trading 10 5-star relics that are not very useful for these ones as well. And in terms of the body of feat, I think it's more or less even in terms of the early game. Personally, my preference would be to find more speed equipment quicker, so I'll definitely be liking to go for the feat. Body is mainly, I would say, I'm looking more for like crit rate as the main stat, and that is quite difficult to find as well. Whereas for feat, if you get a defense boot, you get an attack boot, you still can use it on some characters as well, especially since this is more of a defensive set. So defense percentage could be used, for example, like Fire MC. Attack percentage could be used for like even characters like Herta who rely on follow-up attacks rather than using in terms of speed. So those are like some things I'm considering when I'm actually selecting which one to pick. And next up, of course, we have the Planar Ornament Synthesis. In my opinion, out of the two of them, I would actually prefer to roll for the Planar Ornament Synthesis. And the reason for that is because you hardly will have the time to go into the simulated universe to keep running through many domains. So your speed of farming in terms of real life time, in terms of the output, it will take a much longer time to farm Planar Ornaments versus the Cavern Relic Synthesis. And not only that, also, in terms of the Planar Ornament Synthesis, you don't have flat stats here, so you only just need 2 pieces to finish. We want to look for sets that are very generalist, and one set in mind definitely tops out the rest, and that will be the one right over here. This Innate Salsoto, in my opinion, is like the number one by far, and that's because it increases a crit rate by 8% unconditional, and even gives a pretty useful after effect where if your crit rate is higher than 50%, the ultimate and follow-up attack damage increases by 15%. Everyone that does damage in their ultimate can use this. Follow-up attack maybe not so much, and if you compare it to the Celestial Differentiator, which is a much more late game gear because it's crit damage, and we generally don't have crit rate, that high crit rate until much later on when our substats become more or less perfect. That even the second artifact, the second part is not really that good. It's only like you get 60% increased crit rate at the first attack, so it's also not very useful. That's why I think that the Innate Salsoto is far better. And in terms of which one you want to choose, the Planar Spear or the Link Rope, I think that overall they are more or less the same, just that perhaps maybe the Planar Spear ages out in terms of value, because most of the time as you go on to the later in the game, you will generally be having elements of every single character, whereas the Link Rope, you might not be building as many characters who scale off with, for example, defense, HP, or need break effect as well. So it tends to have a little bit more wastage in terms of the utilization of the Link Rope. Of course, if you get a nice one, a nice main stat, it's going to be very versatile, but a lot of people will be fighting for the same ones. Rather early on in the game, if you are using the Planar Spear, you can allocate very easily what you're going to get. And this is actually going to be my selected choice. I will definitely be choosing the Salsoto in terms of this Moving City one for my account as well. So let's go ahead and, for the sake of research, let's see what it does. It's very painful for me because I'm a very efficient gamer. I don't really like doing things that I know is inefficient as well. And if you guys appreciate such content, do like and subscribe for more of such future content as well. Okay, let's see what we got. So okay, it's pretty decent. It's a fire damage boost one, which means a character, for example, like Fire MC or even Asta can also use it with a pretty nice break effect as well. 5-star stats always welcome, together with additional crit rate. Definitely a good pickup as well. Now, then let's talk about the last part. Is it worth it in terms of trading 10 5-star relics into one of these random one? I could have gotten like attack, percentage attack for this one, and it will be totally wasted, or maybe not totally, but maybe slightly wasted as well. So okay, in order to figure out whether it's actually worth it or not, let's see what's the value in terms of EXP that one 5-star relic will bring compared with like purple and blue relics, to actually see what's the ratio, because we can't just determine whether it's worth it or not without understanding like the ratio of what the value is outside of this Relic Remains. Alright, so let's go into this one that we just got for our account. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on Enhance here, and I'm going to show you the differences in terms of EXP that a gold tier 1 as well as like purple and blue tier 1s provide. So blue, as we know, some of you might have already found out, it gives 500 EXP per blue gear that we are throwing it into the relic. So if you put a purple, for example, it's double, that's 1000, and if you throw a gold tier 1, that is 1500. So the scaling is like, this is worth 3 blues, and it's not even like double the purple one as well. So in a sense, like looking in the long run, a lot of you who play Genshin Impact know that it's 3 for 1 in terms of the exchange rate, but here it's slightly different because 1.5k in terms of like the next other relic in terms of slightly lower tier is only 1k in terms of the difference. So is it worth it to throw it in to the machine? I would say yes, because most of the time you will have a high number of wastage of these gold relics, and the differences is actually very similar to a purple one. 50% increase, whereas 50% more you have the option of re-rolling a gear that you really want. I think in the long run, when our count is like more stacked and we have more we don't really need the EXP in terms of leveling up our relics, it's definitely worth it in the future. So if you're watching this video in future and you want to know, yes, maybe once we hit like Trailblaze 60 or 65, definitely we should be using it to get more of these like good relics as well for our overall account building. But in the near term, if you ask me, like, do I think it's actually worth it? Do I really want to upgrade my gear? Do I really want to like get rid of this 5-star gear if I wasn't making this video? Honestly, I wouldn't. I want to like level up gear like this and this just to get that main stat up real quick so that I can extract more value from my overall account as well. Because as you can see here, most of the gear that my team is using or my characters are using are nearly all zeros still. So in the early game, you don't want to waste EXP, just put them in, use the gold tier ones to bring them up, get more damage outgoing, clear the memory of chaos and stuff that reset also frequently, and that is in my opinion like how we should all move forward in terms of using this thing. But in future, I do think it's definitely tremendous tons of value, and if you found this video helpful and educational as well, do give us a like and subscribe for more of such future content too. Do check out these 2 other videos which I think will be pretty helpful to you guys as well. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.